Hello and welcome to 4,000 and Counting. I'm Watty, and today I am joined by the King of the North, Ross the Boss Murray. He has freshly announced that this weekend will be his last as a Solway Sharks player. Ross, congratulations on the retirement, buddy.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
And as anyone that's watching the video and not on audio will know, Ross has done it the hard way. He's sitting there with some zippers in the eye right now as we talk. So for those
Yeah.
that are on Spotify or Apple, he's done it the hard way all the way to the very end. What happened to the face, pal?
Yeah, no, just a high stick against the last game against the Bees just caught me off guard, and I think it should have got stitches, but it was too late. Obviously, that long travel, so they kind of butchered it with glue to try to make me look
Just
half decent. Oh, I know, mate,
oh,
it's horrible. I'm hoping it doesn't. I hope I didn't lose any hair on my eyebrow, but
can you
we'll see.
imagine? You just sounded
I
like the
know,
Go
well,
Faster stripe in the eyebrow.
I know. I'm struggling up. I'm struggling up top as it is. That's why I've got the hat on.
Oh, mate, at least you got the beard. My scars, I got two scars and they're both through my chin. So even like when the bit that I can grow, like when that
Yeah.
grows in, it gets a bit thicker. It's got like two big scars on my chin where no hair grows. Right
Nightmare,
in the
man.
middle. How's the season been? Obviously, we spoke to you before the year, and there was a lot of anticipation coming into the Solway Sharks in the Shark Tank about them joining the national. I think you boys competed well. How have you found it being on the inside?
Yeah, definitely, definitely the right choice to make. Like, definitely, that's where we should be and try to compete and everything. But it definitely, I think it took a lot of us kind of off guard about how competitive that league is and how hard it is. Any team can beat any team on any given night. So that was a kind of wake up call quickly. And I think maybe we took a wee bit too long to adapt to that league. You know what I mean? It kind of took us to find our feet far too long. But I loved every single minute of it, especially them tight games. It was better than beating Nottingham 10-0. What was our playoffs last year? Like 19-2 in aggregate.
Yeah, on
You know,
aggregate scoring.
yeah, like crazy. You'd rather be playing those tight games against the Bees like we just done. Even, Telford the week before, Peterborough, I think both went to overtime that weekend. We played them back to back. That's what you want to be playing. That's how you get better as well. So
Oh,
it's definitely the right choice, but it was hard at the same time.
you obviously were that. I think this weekend takes you to 400 games for the Sharks. So you've been there through it all. I always call you the King of the North. I think that's a self-proclaimed title, but
Yeah.
I'm on board with it. I love it. But you were there in the darker days, and then in the successful days at that level, and now you saw it go full circle into the national. I think 901 people through the door against Telford, but that's a far cry from when you were playing in front of 10 man in his dug at the
Aye.
National One level.
100%. I can even remember you go further back to when I was just a fan, and it was maybe 50
Just one
people
guy.
turning up. Yeah, but
Right.
literally that's what it was. It was everybody's parents and girlfriends. That's what it was. So to see the club, transform into almost getting 1,000 fans, and it was crazy the other day. I actually seen people uptown wearing Sharks tops going into pubs and that.
That's
Never
cool.
in my life would I thought somebody would be wearing a Sharks top going to a pub in Dumfries. But it's crazy about how quick it's grown and how good it is, and there's a real buzz around the town now. Some weekends we're actually beating the football team on attendance numbers.
That's great.
They average about 1,000. Sometimes they get an 800. We're up there with them now, so it's great.
What's it like for the local lads? Obviously, like you say, you never thought you'd see a Sharks top going down the high street in for a pint, but a few of you local boys are there now. Like, is it getting out to like your friends and friends of friends and stuff? Are they
Oh
hearing
yeah,
about the team?
yeah, all the time. Like people are asking, well, people thought the first thing they ask for is free tickets, right? That's what they
Of course
chat.
they
That's
do.
what they message you
Of
for
course.
all the time. But yeah, no, I've seen some people at the games I'd never thought I'd see there before. Because Dumfries is still relatively small, so kind of everybody knows everybody. But I've seen people there who I thought would never ever watch hockey, and the first thing they tell me is that they absolutely love it. So word's definitely got around about the place, and even the areas Castle Douglas, Dalbeattie, all them bits, Stranraer, there's fans that come from Stranraer now. That's a good hour drive for Dumfries. So even people from Carlisle come to watch it. So there's definitely, even outside of Dumfries, there's a buzz about the Sharks now.
That's good that there's that appetite. It's something obviously we had Mr. Showbiz himself on a couple of times throughout the season, and that's one thing that he talked about getting into the Carlisle market, getting into some of the markets a little bit further afield. And if they do that, and if they continue to do that, those 1,000 1100 attendances that are thereafter will be a regular thing, I think, in Dumfries.
Oh yeah, for sure, 100%. Like,
And it's a good bunch of fans. And what I really like this year, MK took 150 up to you guys. That's what it's
yeah.
fucking all about. Let's have a bit of that
Oh,
going on. Of
definitely. See, you can tell the teams who have a good away travelling support, and it makes it fun during the games because you can hear them.
course it
Eh?
will.
It's yeah, it's quite. I like how they did it sometimes. You know, with Milton Keynes stayed over and the fans could have a weekend away. That's definitely a market the league needs to make sure they use when they do the fixtures next year for Solway, because that's a fun weekend away, I bet, for the fans.
Yeah, and vice versa. I think it would be a lot more beneficial for the Solway fans if you come down and played Peterborough MK or Bristol
Yeah.
Swindon, Leeds, Hull, whoever it is. But there's so many teams in fairly close proximity to each other that to limit the travel for you guys, it would be beneficial, and it would reduce the cost for the fans. Because let's say your I don't know, your monthly schedule is Peterborough away, Bracknell away, Romford away, and fucking Hull away, for example. That's gonna cost some fans like 800 quid if they
Oh
want to come
yeah.
and watch all that hockey.
Yeah, like
It's
you can't just keep trying to milk the fans for the like away games and that. You need to kind of make it good for them to come and watch because fans will just not come. You know what I mean? They'll not do the away games. They'll just do the home games. I think one fixture I didn't understand was the Bristol away and then Bristol at home weekend. That was one of the worst ones. You know, I'd rather stay over and play Bristol Saturday Sunday than play them in Bristol on the Saturday than play them in Dumfries on the Sunday. They kind of
yeah.
just need to look at the fixtures a lot better and get those like double headers away kind of thing, and because that's what's got to sell tickets and it's got to get the away fan base and Dumfries up. I think.
So one of the big questions going into the season was how brutal would the travel be? How would the boys respond? How would the boys get on with it? So, Ross the boss, how was the travel?
Horrendous, terrible. It was
Shite.
such a yeah, terrible. It was such a shock to the system. Like it I begged to go back to Solihull. That Solihull was our worst one and North one, and that like some of these trips made that look like a jog down the street because it was horrendous. Some of the travel
What
getting
was the
back in
what was the worst trip?
Eh, Bristol was pretty bad. The Raiders Bees they were always bad.
Long trips.
MK didn't seem actually that bad for some reason. I don't know why, but yeah, the London trips were the worst, and so was the Bristol one. Swindon was bad as well. Getting back in at like 4 o'clock in the morning and that, and then try to obviously, I work with my dad, so try to get up and go to work at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning was rough.
Yeah, and the thing is, back in the EPL days, it was probably 50-50 with guys that worked and the guys that were making enough money not to work. So you
Yeah,
could kind of get away with it. Whereas I think in the national level now, maybe five, six guys on rosters across the league don't have to work, but for everybody else,
yeah,
like you are getting back at 4 and you're fucking out the door at 6:30, 7 o'clock, ready for your
yeah,
shift. And then if you
yeah.
got kids, you're back in for shift, straight to the
Oh,
kids, and then before you know
uh,
it, you've been up like 36 hours.
aye, before you know it. But I think look, travel's part of the game. Like that's
Yeah,
it's definitely. I think we talked about this last time. It's part of the game. So if you want to do it, that you need to be prepared for that. But I just need to a wee bit more on the schedule just to kind of make it more friendly for. It's hard because you need to try to please everybody. I get that, but the travel was a killer. Like I had a wee bit of decision in why I'm retiring as well. That because it's just such a it's brutal on the body because you
yeah.
kind of lose that Monday, right? You automatically lose that Monday because you have to go into work, like you say, if you've got a child, like I do as well. It's you try to spend some time with them, but you're a zombie.
Days away, like it's gone.
Oh yeah, and then you're
That's your
back.
entire day.
Yeah, and then you're back on the ice training before you know it's the weekend again, and you're away to I don't know, fucking Bristol again, and you're like, fuck, when's this going to stop?
It just doesn't stop, does it? It's relentless. How was the training and stuff been this year? Has it been much better having that higher quality standard of player in and around
Oh
the Shark Tank?
yeah, definitely. Training was faster, obviously. Just kind of, I don't know how to explain it. It wasn't as relaxed. It was more like actually hockey. Like obviously it was always a feel good vibe because we were always winning before, but I don't think anybody ever felt like threatened or challenged in North One. So it's kind of good
Yeah,
because boys were obviously they were competing for spots all the time in training, and it was at compete level, and yeah, just hard, good hockey.
not no disrespect to D side. I'm just going to use them because they're the first team that popped into my head. But when you boys are fucking running town and absolutely speed bagging everyone for 5 years in a row, if you got D side at home on Saturday, it's probably hard to get the boys fucking moving their legs on a
Oh, aye.
Thursday night. You got Leeds nights and you're going to have to play against Kieran Brown, try to snap your ankles in half here.
Oh, yeah,
You can
exactly.
work a little bit harder.
Yeah, doing the pre-scout on boys, like actually taking an interest in what what boys play for what teams and figuring their lineups and what lines they're doing, watching the power play. We never did any of that, but well, we did a wee bit of that before, but you know, I mean, we just turned up and kind of ran the show in that North one. So it was definitely a shock. And I think it was a shock to some of the boys to actually have to get to that compete level again, to compete for their spots and compete in training and realise like, oh, this isn't a walk in the park anymore. This is the game now. This is what we want.
Did it feel different in terms of like the professionalism and everything going in from last year because this is Solway have been a good club for years, so they've had
Yeah.
good bits in places for years, but this year it just seems to have stepped up that notch. Have you noticed that from inside?
Yeah, and like they always had a really good model, like professional model around the club anyway. So it was just small wee tweaks, but I think a lot of boys, they needed to start becoming accountable for themselves a wee bit more. So it was kind of like, this isn't just a hobby. This is kind of like a job now for a lot of boys. So let's kind of you got to keep that in mind. You're accountable for your actions now. It's not just fun. It's work as well. So boys had to kind of change their mindset to being like, it's essentially a job now. You're kind of getting paid to do something. So if you didn't do it, you're out kind of thing.
Well, yeah, because I imagine your leash in the NIHL One North when you're majority winning games and you probably don't need everybody pulling on the rope to get the job done. Whereas
No.
the national's so fucking deep. One guy takes a night off, there's a hump.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like you can't if you don't turn up to them games ready to play, like you're fucked. But
Absolutely.
In North One, I know Gappo's going to score 5 goals in a game, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah, right.
Like that was it. And we always made a joke in North One, like going into the third period was our period. And I think sometimes if you look back when we were down by maybe a couple of goals going into the third, we ended up winning the game 7-3 or something, and we were losing 3-1 going into the third. You know what I mean? So, but that doesn't really happen in the national.
You, and funnily enough, I was there for one of those games. You played Swindon away in Cardiff,
Yeah,
and that comeback in the last, I don't know, 2 goals in 45 seconds. I think
yeah,
Peaks might have got both.
yeah. He got both of them. Yeah.
Yeah, like they're the games. That's the games that you want to be in, and they're the
Oh,
ones that feel the best.
100%.
That bus trip doesn't feel so bad after that, does it? When
No,
you
does
just
it? No,
fucking
no.
absolutely
Yeah.
stole one in the last minute. Like that's do you boys get a few pops on the bus on the way after that?
Sometimes yeah, definitely. Well, sometimes I just try to sleep on the bus most of the time, like because I knew I was
Yeah,
going to be up at work in the morning. But no, definitely, like they're the games, right? That's why I'd rather play all season and lose by 1 goal and be in the game than win every game by 10 goals because that's
yeah,
what hockey is,
just
right?
yeah, of course. Yeah. That's why like when it gets to the NHL playoffs, the standard goes up, the results get closer, the teams are the neck and neck. That's why the hockey's the best. And when ultimately when you are playing, Streatham have done it a few times, maybe less so this year. But I think in last year, the year before, same as you boys up in the north, some of the fucking scores that were coming in on the weekend. That can't be
Yeah,
fun for anybody. It's not fun for the team
no,
that's winning. It's not fun for the team that's losing. It's not fun for the fans.
no,
It's just not fun. Like whereas a 2-1, a 7-6, a 5-4 last minute goal, give me that every week.
yeah, exactly. That's what put bums on seats, right?
Yeah.
I heard some of our fans say, okay, it's not been a successful year for us. It's been a bit strange not to have any hockey after next weekend, but a lot of them are saying that they've loved every single second of the season. And that's what it's all about, right? It's all about putting bums on seats, pleasing people, and actually competing.
You said something interesting that it's not been a successful season. How would you measure success this season for the Solway Sharks? Ultimately, you're going to be disappointed to have missed out on the playoffs. But
Yeah.
when you look
So
at you've took points off of everybody, you've beat everybody, I believe. in your first year, which I think Hull failed to do last year, Bristol failed to do last year. So you were the first one of the kind of expansion teams to do that. So what marks success for you boys?
I don't know, it's hard. So I've probably maybe got a different opinion than some of them. Obviously, making playoffs to me is a massive failure. But when you kind of look where the clubs came in such a short time, because obviously we found out a wee bit later on in the summer that we were joining this league. So a lot of boys had already been spoken for and stuff like that. So the step up and what we've achieved this year, that's success in itself. I think the foundations have been set to be really successful probably in the next, I'd like to say 2 years' time. I'd like to see the club win a trophy, a cup or playoffs a league title might be quite hard to achieve, but I reckon this club will be successful in the next 2 years. I'd like to say, but definitely got the right foundations down. We've got owners who are learning all the time and kind of, they might have got some stuff wrong to begin with, but they're open to learning and they're right heavily involved in the club. And you've obviously got Spud who's a great coach and he's going to be eager to keep winning and stuff like that. And the kind of core of the boys they've got and the ones who are willing to learn, it has been successful in that sense.
Well, obviously you touched on Grubby, great coach. He's got JT, another good coach right there by his side. You got those boys, but then you've got like Scooter and Peam and everybody behind the
Yeah.
scenes. Like it's a very, very good group. And anytime I've like seen you guys throughout the year, always looks like a real fun group to be a part of.
Sorry, say that again.
Sorry, mate. I was just saying, whenever I've seen you boys throughout the year with whether it be Peem or
Oh yeah.
Scooter or JT, any of the boys, it's just from coaching to the kit mans, the guys sharpening the skates to the ladies in the cafe. Everybody seems to be like having a good time. It seems
Oh
to be
yeah.
like a good atmosphere around the club.
Yeah, 100%. Like, so I feel like everybody wants to pull in the same direction. Obviously, there's always going to be kind of teething problems when you move up a level and kind of, as a new establishment kind of taking over. But it seems that everybody wants to kind of pull in the same direction and do whatever it takes to kind of make sure Dumfries and the Sharks are going on the map. I think it's because everybody's worked so hard for so long to kind of get us to this position. So it means so much to so many people, and everybody wants to see the Sharks be successful.
So far we've seen Leeds Knights win the league and Milton Keynes last night they win the cup. Now that you boys aren't in it, who wins the playoffs?
I, don't- I don't know. Like Leeds are
Wagon.
strong. Like absolute. And the worst thing about Leeds is they don't even need that many chances to take a game. They're just so deadly. Like you give them half a second to score a goal, and they could get two. Do you know what I mean? They're just deadly in that sense. So I probably can't see past Leeds because if they turn it on, they're they're relentless. Like you just said, I think they just run away with it. But I quite like I find like the teams that are sneaking in through the back door, like the Raiders and the Bees. If they get hot,
Never know, right?
like last year, Raiders made the finals, didn't they? And they
Yeah.
were eighth. They finished eighth. I think that's what kind of is annoying us a wee bit because if we could have just have squeezed in there, we reckon we could have been deadly sneaking in the back door and that. So, but I'd say Leeds, like I just can't see past them. With Kieran Brown and that, they're just deadly. And even when he's no scoring, you've got Boesa, Haywood, Howlett. Like they're just they only need two chances, and that's sent 2-0 up. You know what I mean?
It's funny. Hayward's a name that I mentioned a lot last year on the podcast. Less so this year, not for any particular reason. But he low key, I looked yesterday, it's just low key fucking got his way to 87 points. I
Yeah,
was like,
exactly.
how is he not even bouncing on people's radars? The guy's got nearly 100 points, but when you've got Brown and Howlett
Yeah,
and Gospel, they're the ones that tend to get your first name conversations. Bruessa's up there as well. That kid can play. Like
yeah.
he's 27 goals or something for the year. I think it'd been he'll be one that if I was the Sharks, I'd be definitely going after next year, being from just down the way in the Glasgow area. Well, actually, no, is he an
Yeah,
Irvine boy?
aye, Irvin boy, aye.
Yeah, he's from my neck of the woods. But like, just I think it'd be interesting when it comes to recruitment next year for the Sharks. As you said, then You boys were late to the party. How many guys were already signed up? Well, you've already seen it this year. Like guys are getting fucking 2-year deals announced in
Yeah,
November and stuff now, and all like
yeah.
it's getting earlier and earlier. Teams are locking up their key guys for longer, sooner into the season than later. But this year coming, the 24-25 season, Solway are going to be at the table the same time as everybody else, and I think
Oh
that's going
yeah,
to make a massive difference.
yeah, 100%. Like I know what the owners are what they're well, the club itself wanting to aim for. So they're going to be going after probably some big names and try to get them over the line and just build for that success because they're no, like we've said before, they're no here to take part. They're here to kind of take over. They're definitely wanting to be successful. And I think some boys know that as well, that especially with Grubby's coach and his record and being so well known, that I think a lot of boys want to come and play for him as well. So and Dumfries it's a good place to play as well. You get treated really well here, and I think it's a lot of people who've played here in the past have spoke well about the place. So I would be surprised if a few boys the club gets in touch with jump ship. Like,
Have you seen any like the in I don't know how to phrase this question. Right, so obviously you got the SNL that seems to be doing a lot better this year.
yeah,
Do you think some of those lads are maybe trying that wee bit harder, trying to get maybe noticed potentially to be picked up by Solway next year?
yeah.
Because there is now maybe only one team at the moment, but there is a stepping stone for the Scottish kids to be playing national hockey if they perform in the SNL.
Yeah, 100%. So I think that's what a lot of the young guys will try that now. Especially with that Innes Gallagher going to Leeds. He was
Yeah.
on the ice with us last season. He was on the ice with us at the beginning of this year. Went to Widnes. I think he had 3 or 5 goals against Whitley and then got picked up with Leeds. So a lot of boys around his age will be looking what he's done, and they'll be looking at to try and press the Sharks and get here. I would be surprised if they have a lot of young guys skate with them in the summer and try to impress Spud, obviously, and try to get into the team that way.
Hey, I'm all for it. I'm actually going to be up in Edinburgh, folks, 13th and 14th. It is the SNL playoffs. I will be there. 4,000 account and we'll be covering it. Looking forward to that. I went up to the Aberdeen game.
Oh,
When did
it's
I go up?
mental.
Fucking wild, mate.
I
And
know, mate. I
place
coached
was sold out,
oh
like queuing out the door for
yeah,
pie and everything. Like,
they sell out before some a week before some games. It's crazy. Like I coached up there with had the SNL team in Dumfries. It was the Stingrays or something. It wasn't very successful time of my coaching career, but it was a
no.
stepping stone to try and get it going. But I went up there and I was thinking, fuck Aberdeen away, right? Nobody wants to do that. Dumfries to Aberdeen. I went up there and I was like, fuck me, man. They've set this place out. It was absolute bouncing.
Yeah,
People were in talk. I'm pretty sure they had fireworks and confetti and everything when they came on the ice as well. And I was like, "Fuck, this is next level here." Like,
they go all out. From what I've seen from the infrastructure, I mean, it'll never happen just geographically, but from what I've seen from the infrastructure, they could easily put a team in the national tomorrow.
oh, 100%. But obviously that far north, it's
So far.
disappointing. But oh, mate, it's horrendous.
That
But
being said, though, mate, I what an hour to Gatwick. You only have to be there an hour before. It was a 45-minute flight. I got picked. John picked us up. Was having breakfast 3 hours after I left my house,
yeah,
and that's Basingstoke to Aberdeen. And the flight was reasonable. Like maybe I'll make a comeback. Sign for the Lynx on a home game only contract, mate. Fuck it. That's the sort of thing though. It was a buzz. Like I was in there. Everybody's got a jersey. All the kids have got a jersey and a teddy bear and a fucking foam hand and everything going on. Like it was brilliant.
I mean, you even look at the Caps this year. I'm pretty sure they hit. Don't quote me on the number, but I think it was 1,800 fans they got to one game.
2,300 at one of the
Oh, did
games.
they? Fuck, there you go then. 500 extra than what I said. The SNL's getting a lot better. It's very underrated, I think. And I think any of the teams in the SNL would compete against the NHL one sides.
Yeah, and I think that's something they're looking to keep going with the Northern League there, and whether they expand that next year. I know there's definitely discussions and stuff going on. I was very impressed with some of the boys when I watched that SNL. The kid they had in goal for Dundee, he was a fucking National League goalie, import, I think.
Oh
He
yeah,
was
yeah, yeah,
like seriously good. Seriously,
yeah.
Aberdeen hammered them, peppered them all night. This guy kept him in it, it's still on his head.
There's some hidden talent in the SNL, so there is. And I think the problem's been that they've never ever seen like, because obviously elite is that such a big jump and obviously such a big commitment. They've never seen anything else what they could probably play. So eventually, a couple of years of being good, and then they just end up bumming about the place. So they
Yeah,
need to make sure, like the Sharks obviously have that advantage of kind of picking anybody up north of the border, really.
I think it would be key. And if the SNL continues to grow, even down to stupid stuff, like their website's fantastic. You go on,
Yeah,
it's got all the senior results, the junior results, what games are coming up, you can find it. Um, John was explaining to me like how easy it is to update, so the clubs can update it themselves. It automatically updates the league table when they do it. Just like all these things that make life easier, make the product better. It didn't cost 85 bags like the fucking EIHA spent on one. It's these things matter. And here's a question I didn't actually think we are going to get to today, but it just popped in my head. Obviously, you do your bits with the junior coaching. Scotland pay 10, £12 for a trial, a player. England, they're charging £100, mate.
yeah,
£100 fucking to try
yeah.
to
It's mad.
trial for your country. You're going to need half a dozen to 8 trials. It's £800. Then you got to get to Sheffield 8 times, then hotels. That's part of like 3, 4 grand, man, for these
Yeah.
kids to fucking play for their country.
Hockey's already expensive enough. Never mind chucking in extra fees. That's my opinion. It should be as cheap as possible to go to these national things or whatever it is, and like it is, it's a burden. I know with some of the parents at Solway, even though I think we are relatively cheap in Scotland, it is a massive burden on the parents. So no matter what, the associations should be looking to make it as cheap as possible. If that's them just breaking even, then it should just be them breaking even to an extent,
Yeah,
because that's what it's all about. Because you never know, you might have the next Liam Kirk sitting there,
yeah.
but his mum and dad can't afford it. So
That's 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 the, that's the fear in this country, mate.
yeah. What my opinion is, what's the overall goal? Is it to run a business or is it to run a sport? That I think that's the question there. What and if you know the answer to that, then it's very simple.
I would hope it's the run of sport, mate. But
Yeah,
I don't know if I don't know if it is. I think that might be very optimistic on our part. The thing that I have loved, obviously, there's an initiative that Scotland are running, and it's for the kids that are heading out to play in tournaments in Europe. I believe it's in Slovakia, and they've essentially set it up to do fundraising,
oh yeah,
and however much the fundraising up until £200, I believe, will be matched by Scottish ice hockey
yeah,
towards the kids' trips. What I also like, you actually have to go out and get sponsored. It's none of this like
yeah,
fucking from your mum and your dad and your granny and your
yeah,
auntie. It's like, so some kids are doing like sponsored skates, some kids are shaving their hair, like they're doing stuff to like raise money. It's getting awareness, it's getting conversations. Oh, we're doing this for to raise money to go and represent Scotland. Oh, we get it matched. That's like good news stories going
yeah.
out. That's great. That's what we want.
It's teaching them life skills as well, right?
Yeah.
Getting the kids to actually go out there and earn a crust kind of thing.
Yeah.
Nothing's given for free in this world, so go out and earn it kind of thing. So I thought JT told me about that, and I thought it was a great way to get people involved and to get the kids to actually, raise some funds and do it themselves. So obviously with the Scottish ice hockey now, backing them by giving them the money and that, it's class. That's how it should be, right?
Yeah. I think Scottish ice hockey in the last 2 to 3 seasons has come on leaps and bounds, and long may it continue. It's good to have a competitive SNL. It's good to have a team in the National League in Scotland, and I think now the next thing is they need some of the elite league teams to be a bit more at the business end of the table. And Scottish hockey, I know it's technically not Scottish hockey, it's 3 Scottish teams, but probably fucking 3 Scottish guys on the team on the rosters between them. But it's hockey in Scotland. If
Yeah,
that's successful, if Glasgow Clan go finish third next year, that gets a buzz around Glasgow, gets a buzz around the sport. It's going to help grow it. I'm seeing like good things top to bottom, media coverage. You guys have done very well on the media coverage front this year. Is that something you've enjoyed being a part of, or are you going to be glad to see the back of it when this is all done?
I'm glad to just kind of go back to quiet Ross again instead of being this loud guy who I don't recognise in the mirror sometimes. I'll be happy to just go back to being quiet and not bothering anybody. But no, the media's been good, and I think we had someone from BBC Scotland the other day. I
Yeah,
seen John put it out coming to their game. So yeah, they've like I think that's John's skill, right? Showbiz his skill. He can sell anything on media stuff, right? So it's been kind
he's
of
very
nice
good
and
at it.
fun. It's been good to see the club have that professional media feel about them. It's been class to see us everywhere we go. Every time I go on social media, it's Sharks this, Sharks that. So it's been good to be part of. But I'll be happy to go quiet again and hide under a rock.
Who's the who's the worst guy in front of the mic?
I mean, Struan's quite Struan's quite reserved, but I don't think he actually minds doing it. Connor Henderson is just next level. Some of the stuff he comes out with is I don't know if it's because he's nervous or if he's just living on another planet. Like he's
He's a good
horrendous
kid.
on it. Yeah. Oh, crazy, but he's no
I had a real
he's no
good I had
wild.
a real
Like
good night out with Connor when I was up. We had a right good crack. He's a good lad. Um, I remember when I was up the road, it was young Carl Carruth because he got man of the match that game. He had to
oh
do he had to do
yeah
the in the bar afterwards.
yeah.
Fucking kid didn't want to speak. Oh, I'll tell you what else is funny. Speaking of him, you see, he had a fight at Widnes at the weekend,
Oh
and they
yeah.
both fell over, and then
Yeah.
his mum put something on Instagram, fucking chirping
I
him.
know.
Oh, it was so good, so good.
I'd be telling my mum just didn't bother putting anything up of me. Like just let me be, man.
Oh,
But
she was giving it to him large. I love it.
he's been wanting to try have a fight for ages. He's been asking me, and his old man said to me, "Ken, can you make sure if because he plays, I mean he does. He's cheeky. He's a cheeky wee fuck, so he is on the ice."
Is
And I
it?
said to his old man said, "See when he gets that cage off, he needs to be able to protect himself." So he has
Yeah,
asked a couple of times what to do in that, and when I heard he'd been fighting, I was hoping it was going to be a bit more. But
he fell over.
fair play to him, he actually dropped the gloves. Like,
There's another wee lad that I like, Scottish, a similar age. Gary Kelly plays for Aberdeen.
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, good wee player, but again,
yep.
he's a wee prick. He's been mixing it up a
Oh,
couple of times this year in the SNL.
that's
I'm all for it.
it's, it's the best way to be, right?
Absolutely, mate. I made a career out of it. So, like, it is what it is, and it's good to see some of the young kids coming through. And they've still got a bit of grit.
Yeah, because I feel like you're probably the same as me. Feel like it's probably getting knocked at the spot a wee bit. It's
Yeah,
definitely like some of this season with some of the bands and that I've seen it's kind of scary, right? So it's kind of good to see the younger generation still crashing and banging and
yeah,
still having that respect at the end of the game as well. Obviously, shaking hands and everything. So it's good, nice to see that it's no dead yet.
yeah. Absolutely, I totally agree. What have you made of these bans then? Because some of them have been ridiculous. Some of them are not even penalties, and guys are getting 8 games. Other guys are
Yeah,
more than 8 games, 12 games, and stuff. It's ridiculous.
like scary. Just you're scared to make. My opinion, you're scared to make a hit now, right?
Yeah,
Just in case, because you watch obviously you watch the bans and that coming through, and you go, well, last week that was a 6 game ban. This week it's 12, and then
yeah,
is it different? Is it different in North One to the National? Are they calling it different? Nobody knows, right? So it's. I think they need to get a proper guideline and a baseline level of what's acceptable and what's not, and then just go from there. Because as a player, I was confused on what was allowed and what wasn't, and then obviously it depends who was refereeing your game. Some referee
yeah,
because down south's completely different than up north refereeing. Down to me, down south you get away with a lot more with your stick than you do up
right.
north, and straight away that's confusing you. So it's just a matter of kind of getting everybody on the same page and realizing like right, but some of the bands just shouldn't be that lengthy. Like
No, some of them are ridiculous, mate. And
yeah,
I think if it carries on, I don't think it will carry on, but if it's to carry on like that, how many guys like yourself just go, fuck this? Like
yeah,
just I don't know, that's not why you're retiring, but do you know, like if you're on the fence and then you
yeah,
make a hit in fucking February and you find out you're banned till the end of March, you're like,
yeah, exactly.
I'm done
And
here,
it's
mate.
where does that leave you if you're relying on a wage as well?
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like some teams might go, well, if he's got a 16 game ban, because that was getting chucked out there. Well, like catch you later, see you later, son. Thanks for coming. You know what I mean? Like, so it's no right, especially the explanations as well. They were horrendous, right? I mean,
Yeah, poor.
just different every week. Like, if you're going to ban someone for more, in my opinion, more than 4 games, 6 games, it has to come with a good explanation of why.
Very, very detailed, in-depth video analysis,
Yeah,
breakdown, everything.
yeah, 100%. And they also need to remember that some of the hits in the NHL are completely different than over here. You know what I mean? Like, and I honestly thought sometimes they were watching the NHL being like, right, he's got away with that, he's got away with this, so you're allowed to do that. But then the next second when you actually make a hit and it's a wee bit maybe high, boom, there's 6 games hit to the head. Thanks for coming. And you're like that. What the fuck's going on here? Still explain it more. That's what I think they
Yeah.
need to do. The communication needs to be a lot better.
Outside of that, is there anything else you would change in the National League?
Uh I don't know. Obviously, I'd like to see an extra team added in. So it's
Yes.
12, 100% 12 teams. Uh, but I don't know. Obviously, being a rookie to it all, it was more about enjoying it and kind of being part of it was exciting enough. But I think I didn't want to say this, but I think the referee, and I'm not attacking referees saying they get it wrong. I think we need to all get on the kind of same page and have a kind of minimum standard. I know every referee refs a game different, but some of the games were completely a different set of rules. I thought, but kind of shocked me because I did think the refereeing was going to be a lot better. And I'm not saying it was bad. I'm just saying you had one referee who was reading the rules that way, and you had another referee reading the rules that way. So it was kind of you didn't know what you got to get away with
The
and stuff.
consistency wasn't there overall.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. That's probably a better way to sum it up.
And that's just something that we've spoke about on the podcast before, well, for years. Until the teams, the league, Ice Hockey UK, whoever it is, decides to pony up some cash and put these
Yeah.
boys through some training camps a couple of times a season, it's not gonna fucking happen.
Yeah, I think the referees need help. Like I think they need, and no fault of their own. They need a support network. I don't know anything about refereeing. I don't know what goes on with the refereeing association or anything like that. But I think they definitely need a way to maybe kind of see it through the players' eyes sometimes and be like, because we're confused, and I know if we're confused, they're probably going to be confused as well. So maybe I like you say it needs a wee bit of funding and try to get on the same page and I've already said this and like better communication between all parties.
I think communication's key for the league, whether it between owners and coaches and players and officials and whoever it is, through any one of those combinations, the better the communication, ultimately the better the product on the ice will be, because we're
100%.
seeing teams pick each other's brains about things to do in between the periods or how to get more kids in through schools programs and all these other ideas. We got to communicate the whole thing. So referees, how they want the game seen. Early doors, you have a meeting in September. You readdress it at Christmas. Another one before the playoffs. But you can just keep in constant communication, and these pathways that are going to allow the information that needs to get to where it needs to go to
Yeah,
help improve the game.
100%. 100%. Because I mean, I've not heard anything from England ice hockey this year at all, really,
No,
as a
you won't.
player. I think this is my first year being registered. Well, apart from when I was at Whitley, but this is my first year registered with English ice hockey, and I've never heard one word for them.
No,
So I don't know if they're changing rules. I think that's what they need to do: better communication with the players on rule changes. And well, the only thing we get told is about the doping. That's about it.
yeah.
So they need to rule changes, different stuff all the time. They should be communicating with the players. They should be communicating with everybody: referees, players, coaches, general managers, off ice staff, all the time. The communication should be there all the time, even if it's just a silly email newsletter to all players. If you read it, you read it. If you don't, you don't. But at least you told everybody what's going on within the
Yeah.
association and such.
Mate, I think that's a great idea. Have you boys had any doping tests this year?
Yeah, none,
None. Have you heard
none,
of anyone in the league having any?
no.
No. It's something they like to talk about, but they don't seem to act on. And I I just find it interesting that it's something they'd say, but then don't do anything.
Yeah,
I mean, it's probably just that they got to say it because it's a threat in the background. It maybe keeps some guys a little bit more honest or whatever.
Yeah,
But if you're going to say it, equally, you should probably
yeah,
test instead of turning up. They might turn up at Coventry and they hot piss test 12 guys. There's
yeah,
been thousands of games throughout the course of
yeah,
the season. Yeah, but yeah, it's just another thing that it could improve, whether it be classed as semi-pro or professional. I don't even think it's happened in the Elite League this year, to my knowledge. So I know there's talk about it, but it never seems to happen. Well, obviously we touched on off the top. Yeah, you're done after this weekend. Last game. How do you feel going into your last weekend?
I don't know. I feel like the world's been lifted off my shoulders a wee bit. Definitely, like I feel at peace with it. There was a wee, I was dependent, like thinking about, do I drop down a level because the travel's brutal, or do I keep trying to play? And obviously, I want to finish my career with the Sharks. So, and then I just kind of sat down with my old man and we talked about it, what the options were, and I'm nervous. Like it's been so long, and I'm kind of scared to think what the summer and obviously in the winter's going to be like, and what I'm going to do. You know what I mean? It's I'm not going to be with the boys anymore, kind of thing. Because
Yeah,
I always enjoyed being that guy and just the being in the changing room and having a laugh with the boys and the bus trips. They're the things what matter to me. I think they're the reason why a lot of us play the game. We don't actually play the game for the sake of the game. We play for the
all
boys
the other
around us and
fun
that.
stuff.
And yeah, I mean, I'm kind of scared to let that go, but it's definitely kind of it feels right, but I'm scared at the same time. It kind of be like, fuck, this is Saturday's the last game. I actually said to my wife, I never cried at our wedding. I never cried when Angus was born. But I was like, Saturday night,
Probably
you might see me
Saturday.
crying.
Yeah, probably Saturday. Oh
But
mate,
yeah,
well
just
I'm
like
God,
going to
sorry.
war and that, like missing going to war and stuff like that. Like I think that's what I'm going to miss. I think that's probably going to be the thing what frustrates me the most is turn up to these games and I'm watching, or if I'm, behind the bench or anything, and not being able to, go on the ice and just kind of grab it by the fucking balls and just go for it. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
gotta miss that.
Do you think you will? Obviously, you do stuff with the juniors. We touched on that both podcasts now. But do you think you'll still crack on and help out with the juniors, or perhaps you come away from it altogether for a little bit? What's the thoughts?
I don't know. I'd like to still coach the juniors now and then and kind of help them out. And I've already spoke to Spud and kind of seen if there'd be a role kind of with me, like within the Sharks and stuff. And obviously that needs kind of talked about. But I don't know if I just go away for a couple of months, go over the summer, and then kind of see what it's like. Because obviously I'm busy with helping the family business and all that stuff, young family as well. I mean, I'm buzzing to just actually do some stuff with my son. Like instead
Yeah.
of he thinks I work every hour of the day. Because I'm never in at night and stuff. So. Uh, I'm not sure, but I still definitely want to be involved in the sport in some way. Ideally, I want to kick on with my coaching career now. You know,
Yeah.
co- and just kind of get a reputation of trying to be a good coach, and hopefully I can go as high as I can possibly go with that.
Well, if you manage to stay around the Sharks and get involved from that side, it's going to be a great learning curve for you, and you're going to see how different it is from being on the other side on a game day. All the other shit you got to fucking remember, not just like t turn up with your snooze and your coffee and be like, right, let's go home.
Exactly.
I'm good. You're
Like
good to go.
playing's easy. Like
Easy.
because you
Yeah.
just need to really worry about yourself and your line mates and that. But see, I mean, I've only really done it with under 19s, and fuck, like you look at some of them and go, why did you think that was a good idea? Like
Yeah.
you've, you've been doing it at training fine all the time, and then you come to a game and you're just fucking acting stupid. Like why? But hopefully there's probably a role with me within the Sharks, and it would be obviously a great learning curve, and it would probably help my coaching career massively.
So you boys do have 2 games left. You're gonna finish it up. What's uh what's the feeling in the camp like? Obviously disappointed not to make the playoffs, but
Yeah,
all the boys ready to get this weekend done. Couple of victories to finish it off, or what?
yeah, like obviously want to kind of finish strong, especially for our fans. And a few boys mentioned obviously it's my last, so they like to see me go out with a win. So I think it's weird because we've never been in this situation before where we've had like pointless training and kind of pointless games. It's
Yeah,
either always been preparing for playoffs or kind of making sure we get across the line. So it's definitely a bit weird, kind of having training for nothing or pointless games.
yeah,
But I think it's also good for. I've reminded some of the younger boys in that even though the season's technically over and there's only 2 games left, there's a chance for you to kind of put a marker down for next season, like impress
yeah,
Spud. Kind of say to him, I didn't get much ice time during the main part of the season, but I might get some ice time in these kind of pointless games, so I'm going to show him what I'm worth and give him a headache in the summer to think about it. So
yeah. Too right. So who is it you boys wrap up against? I believe Swindon, one of the teams. No,
no, Leeds on Friday and then Hull on Saturday.
fucking easy weekend then. Yeah,
Yeah, easy weekend.
easy weekend. But again, like, and it's interesting because obviously last weekend, Hull going into the cup final this weekend, they rested a bunch of guys.
Yeah,
Peterborough put a fucking 8 spot on them, I think.
yeah,
That's not really happened this year. Will Leeds rest? Me and Mark was chatting, making the joke about it. It's like, will Leeds rest Gospel? And then they put Harrison in last weekend, and he got 3 wins in 3 games, and he
yeah, exactly.
94% save
Yeah,
percentage. Or so it's like, doesn't really matter if Gospel's in.
yeah. Most backup goalies in this league can play. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They're not they're hungry enough as it is, so it really doesn't matter if they start their starter or their backup because any one of them can stand on their head on any given night. So it really doesn't help us this Friday if they play Harrison.
mate. That's like you say though. They're the games that you want to do it, and they're the teams that
Yeah,
you want to beat. And you have beat them this year, haven't you, Leeds?
yeah, yeah. Beat them at home. Yeah, shootout.
How good was
So it
that?
was massive. It was kind of like
They've only
right.
lost
That's
six
us.
games all year.
Yeah. So it was kind of like that to me. I said to the boys, "That's us. We're here now." You know what I mean? Like you can't deny that Sharks haven't arrived now. We've beat the reigning champions. It was kind of time to kick on a wee bit in that. I mean, I think we've done really good against the top end teams this year. It was kind of the lower end teams round about us where we struggled.
Happens, mate.
So
It
yeah,
happens. That's the game. Right, last couple of questions for you. Obviously, you said the league's been good. Who's been the players that have impressed you the most?
well, Kieran Brown definitely. He's just
Kid's good.
relentless, man. Like only needs an inch to score a goal, and it's usually a snipe. Uh,
Yeah, filth.
I think who else really?
What about D-men
Oh,
that you get to battle with?
D-men. I always a fan of Plusy. I like Plusy in Swindon.
Yeah,
Obviously, I've played with him before and that, so I always like him. Uh, what's his name for Hull? That Bartholomew.
yeah,
Bartholomew.
Brock Bartholomew.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's weird. He's too tall. Like he's
yeah, he's a big
massive.
tall boy, isn't
Yeah, but I mean, every player can play
he? Yeah,
in this league. That's the big thing. And I think a lot of people up here didn't understand that every player can play, even into their fourth line. All the kids
yeah,
in that are hungry as fuck. You know what I mean? And for a guy like me who was at his end of his career, it was a pain in the arse.
yeah, yeah. To get chased around.
Yeah, 100%. Like,
Yeah. So that was one of my last questions, and then finally, you boys have you've definitely made your mark on the league. Hoping that you'll go back. My last question is if and when we announce the charity game in Solway, will you lace them up for us or what?
100%, mate.
We'll get some pops in.
Yeah.
We'll have
Oh,
some beers. That'll be
definitely,
fun.
definitely, mate.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, get down to the Shark Tank this weekend. It is Ross's final game. I'm sure it's going to be emotional for him, emotional for the family, but hopefully they'll see it out with 2 points. Ross, thanks for joining once again, buddy, and I wish you all the best. Hopefully, I'll see you at the charity game, buddy.
Spot on, mate. Thanks for everything. Cheers.
Ladies and gents, make sure you hit subscribe, like, comment, do all the good stuff, and we'll see you again for another episode. Kyle Locke, Guildford Flames, very, very soon. Peace.